a film called I Am Legend a couple of nights ago with Will Smith. Terrible film, in my opinion. That theme of a plague in which reduces people to kind of weird zombies and a small number of embattled survivors. That theme was done much better, I think, in 28 Days Later. It did get me thinking about various things. The Will Smith character in that film is, of course, the hero. He seems to be some kind of soldier, some high-up soldier who can get his family privileged places on one of the only escape helicopters. But somehow, within the space of 3 years after the plague that decimates the population of the world, he also seems to be the only person who can find the cure for this plague, even though I assume every scientist on the planet has been trying to solve that particular problem. Will Smith, as a soldier, seems to be able to do it, which I thought was a bit odd. He also seems to have had time to learn all the words from one of the Shrek films in that 3 years as well, so that was pretty magical. But one of the things I thought, well, there's lots of things interesting about it, is he has to avoid these particularly unpleasant creatures, the dark seekers, I think they're referred to at one point, who are these plague victims who haven't died. They've been kind of converted into weird monsters with superhuman powers who have a bloodlust. They avoid the light, thank God, so a little bit like vampires, and they seek human blood, so again a little bit like vampires, a little bit like zombies because they eat people. So they're the stuff of nightmares, really, which seems to give Will Smith the right to trap them occasionally and perform experiments on them. On one scene, it's a very small scene, there's a whole series of photographs on the wall of his underground laboratory that he's built, showing pictures of all these corpses of these strange dark seekers. To me, there's a question there about the morality of killing an experiment on these people, but that isn't really raised in the film. Maybe we're supposed to raise it ourselves, in which case here we are doing it. What else about this film? Well, the reason why I started thinking about this film was obviously the dark seeker, Will's the hero, and the girl who comes in towards the end is the heroine, and the dog that features through most of the film is a bit of a hero. The dog gets killed by the canine version of dark seekers in this film, and the zombie dogs kills Will Smith's Alsatian. Morning. No pops. And it did make me wonder why we didn't have zombie squirrels and zombie rats and zombie deer and lions and all the other animals you see floating around the place. But apparently there's just zombie humans and zombie dogs. But these zombies, which are fantastic creatures, they can jump all over the place and they look really unpleasant. I'm just thinking what it must be like to be those creatures. I mean, we're not supposed to think that, I suspect. We're just supposed to see them as a kind of embodiment of some kind of symbolic evil. But they do seem to have some kind of inner life, even if it's just to the extent that they keep pets, because these zombie dogs seem to be owned by the zombie humans, and they seem to hang around in social groups. They refer to them as nests, so again we're encouraged to think of them as vermin rather than people. But I'm just thinking, the reason why I'm thinking about this is a few videos I've made have been talking about the kind of drawbacks to being human, really, and having consciousness. And some of those drawbacks are things like pain. We feel pain. We experience fear. That's really unfortunate. We are kind of emotionally over-attached to our own mortality. We kind of know that we're going to die, and that's a terrifying thought. And our understanding of death is completely coloured by the kind of ontological fact of our embodiment, disregarding lots of other things about what it is to be alive and what it is to be a material object in the world, and all those processes which kind of go through life and proceed beyond. By that I don't mean anything metaphysical. I'm talking about purely physical and biological processes like decay. We can't identify with those. We identify with the metabolism, if you like, of our own body, in perhaps a way which is a little bit over sentimental. We're also caught into that kind of referred sentimentality of other people. So when people around us die, we feel very sad. And it feels strange to say we shouldn't, but it would be quite nice if we didn't. Sadness is not a pleasant feeling. Wouldn't it be interesting if we didn't have that? So I'm just wondering what life would be like if we managed to get what we want. If we managed to do away with pain, we don't feel pain anymore. We're not longer frightened of death. We have an understanding of death which takes away the fear of it. We have an understanding of other people's death which takes away our sadness at their departure. You know, we can conceive of them in a slightly different way, a more expanded way perhaps. We don't have fear and suffering. We're not bound into that cycle of worrying whether we're going to be killed at any moment. If all those things are removed, what would it be like? I don't think it'd be like Will Smith. I think it would be like the zombies in that film, or like the zombies in 28 Days Later, or like vampires, some vampires at least. It would look really, really unpleasant from the outside. There would be people dying and being killed and being torn limb from limb and causing one another to die and laughing inappropriately at moments when we, as from our perspective right now, feel we should be crying. It would look like the lack of compassion. It would just look like those horrible zombie creatures in I Am Legend, or the weird rage-fueled infected people from 28 Days Later, or maybe those suicidal people in that great film called The Happening. I'd love to see a film made from that perspective, that gets inside the inner life of that way of being. I think it would look like a deeply religious film, actually. I think it would look religious. I must look at the Passion of the Christ at some point. Perhaps that's the subtext of the Passion of the Christ. What a fantastic day. I love this tree in this field here.